80%, that's the number I want you to hold in your mind for the next 30 seconds before I tell you what it measures, because the number is genuinely striking and the context makes it even more so. 80% decline, not from peak athletic condition, not from some idealized state, but from the levels found in a normal healthy child to the levels found in a normal healthy 60-year-old adult. 80% of this particular compound has vanished from your bloodstream by the time you reach 60. And based on what the research reveals about what this compound does, that disappearance helps explain more about the aging process than almost anything else I've examined in this channel. I'm Dr. Bennett, science researcher and cellular health translator. Everything I share here is educational, built from published peer-reviewed research. If you take medication or have diagnosed conditions, please consult your physician before making significant dietary changes. Now, that number. The 80% figure originates from a 2023 paper published in Science, one of the highest impact scientific journals in the world. Researchers at Columbia University Irving Medical Center measured something most scientists hadn't been tracking systematically: taurine concentrations across the human lifespan. What they discovered was that taurine, a sulfur-containing amino acid the body both produces and obtains from food, falls by approximately 80% between early childhood and age 60. That number would be compelling data even if taurine were a minor metabolic player. What makes it truly significant is what the same research team uncovered when they examined what taurine actually does in the context of stem cells and aging. In animal models, first in mice, then in primates, they demonstrated that restoring taurine reversed measurable aging characteristics in stem cell populations. Muscle stem cells responsible for tissue repair showed dramatically improved function. Bone marrow stem cells showed renewed activity. Health span in the mice extended by 10 to 12%. The human component of the study was smaller and observational, but it confirmed that in 12 older adults who completed 8 weeks of structured exercise, taurine levels correlated positively with markers of cellular youth. The full human supplementation trial is still forthcoming, but the directional signal is clear. This finding completely reframed how I think about the beverages most people over 60 are consuming every day. Because when you examine which drinks dominate the routines of older adults, and then compare that against the biology of what those beverages do or don't do for stem cell function, there's a significant mismatch. Not because anyone made deliberately poor choices, but because nobody explained what the research actually says about the connection between what you drink and whether your stem cells remain active or fall dormant. Let me explain the biology first, because the 3 specific beverages I'm about to cover will make far more sense once you understand what stem cells genuinely require to function properly. Stem cells do not exist in isolation. They live in specific microenvironments called niches, present in bone marrow, muscle tissue, the gut lining, the hippocampus, and several other locations throughout the body. The niche is not merely a physical address. It is an active biological support system. It supplies the correct oxygen levels, and that word correct matters, because stem cells actually prefer a slightly lower oxygen environment than most differentiated cells, which is one reason the bone marrow location makes biological sense. The niche also delivers signaling molecules that instruct stem cells when to activate and when to remain in reserve, structural proteins that provide physical cues about tissue architecture, and a vascular network that carries nutrients and growth factors directly to the cells. What happens to these niches as we get older? 3 things, primarily. First, local inflammation rises, driven largely by senescent cells that accumulate in tissue and continuously release inflammatory chemical signals into the surrounding niche environment. Second, the vascular supply to the niche deteriorates. Nitric oxide, which maintains the dilation of small blood vessels, falls by roughly 50% between ages 40 and 70. Less nitric oxide means smaller vessels stay constricted and blood flow delivering oxygen and critical signaling factors to the bone marrow niche decreases significantly. Third, the antioxidant defense of the niche weakens considerably. Glutathione, the master intracellular antioxidant essential for stem cell survival, declines because its substrate glycine becomes rate-limiting in older adults. The 3 beverages I'm going to walk you through each address one of these 3 failure points directly. Together, They form a practical, evidence-grounded approach to preserving the condition's stem cells need to remain functional well past 60. The first beverage is beet juice combined with fresh ginger. I begin here because beet juice addresses the single most fundamental limiting factor in niche function after 60, which is blood flow. Beets are the richest practical dietary source of inorganic nitrate, a compound that undergoes a conversion pathway inside the body that is worth understanding because it explains why how you prepare and time the drink actually matters. The nitrate in beet juice is first converted to nitrite by bacteria living on the surface of your tongue. This is precisely why using an antimicrobial mouthwash before consuming beet juice eliminates a significant portion of the benefit. You are destroying the bacteria required for the first step of the conversion. From nitrite, the body then converts to nitric oxide in tissues, particularly in low-oxygen environments like the interior of bone marrow. Nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator. It signals the smooth muscle lining blood vessel walls to relax, expanding vessel diameter and increasing the volume of blood flowing through. A standard 250 milliliters serving of beet juice, approximately 8 ounces, delivers roughly 6.4 to 12.8 millimoles of nitrate, which is the range consistently used in cardiovascular and exercise performance research. The endothelial function improvements from dietary nitrate are well established. The direct connection to stem cell niche perfusion is mechanistic rather than demonstrated in a single randomized controlled trial, and I want to be transparent about that distinction. The physiology of how nitric oxide regulates bone marrow vasculature is understood, but a specific clinical trial measuring stem cell activity following beet juice consumption does not yet exist. The reasoning, however, is biologically sound, and the vascular benefits documented in other tissues make the extrapolation reasonable. Ginger adds a categorically different mechanism. The active compounds in fresh ginger, gingerols when raw and showgales when dried or cooked, inhibit the COX enzymes responsible for producing prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are inflammatory mediators that directly contribute to the niche inflammation suppressing stem cell activation. Ginger's mechanism is similar to nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen, but without the gastrointestinal consequences that make daily NSAID use problematic for older adults. One practical note: beet juice can turn urine pink or red. This is entirely harmless, caused by beta-cyanin from the beets passing through the kidneys, but it is alarming if you are not expecting it. If you are currently on blood pressure medication, please speak with your physician before making beet juice a daily habit, because the nitric oxide effect can produce meaningful reductions in blood pressure that may interact with your existing treatment. For timing, consume beet juice approximately 2 to 3 hours before exercise. The nitric oxide effect peaks around 90 minutes after consumption and continues for several hours. Exercising within that window, whether resistance training or cardiovascular work, maximizes both performance and the oxygenation of the muscle and bone marrow tissue where your stem cells reside. The second beverage is ceremonial grade matcha. I want to address the matcha versus regular green tea question directly because the difference is larger than most people appreciate. Both come from the same plant, Camellia sinensis. The distinction lies in processing and, as a result, in how much EGCG, epigallocatechin 3-gallate, is actually delivered. Matcha uses shade-grown leaves that are stone ground into a fine powder. You consume the entire leaf rather than a water infusion of it. Ceremonial-grade matcha contains approximately 137 times more EGCG than standard brewed green tea. That is not a marginal difference. A single cup of ceremonial matcha delivers what would require dozens of cups of standard green tea to replicate. What does EGCG accomplish specifically for stem cells? Research established that EGCG activates the sonic hedgehog signaling pathway in neural progenitor cells, the stem cells of the brain's hippocampus. Sonic hedgehog is not a brain-specific pathway. It is a foundational stem cell self-renewal and proliferation pathway operating across multiple tissue types. Its activation by EGCG implies effects extending beyond just hippocampal stem cells, though the strongest available evidence comes from that neurological context. Separately, EGCG activates PI3K/ACT, which is the primary survival pathway for neural progenitor cells. It signals newly formed neurons to remain alive during the vulnerable maturation window before they successfully integrate into the existing neural network. Since many newly produced neurons die before integration, reducing that attrition rate preserves the functional output of neurogenesis even without increasing the input rate. Beyond these direct stem cell effects, EGCG inhibits NF-kappa B in microglial cells, the brain's resident immune cells, driving them toward an anti-inflammatory state. This reduces the neuroinflammation that suppresses hippocampal stem cell activity and progressively impairs cognitive function. The same NF-kappa B inhibition is systemically relevant. The chronic inflammatory environment suppressing stem cells across all tissue types, including muscle and bone marrow, is substantially driven by NF-kappa B activity in immune cells throughout the body. Matcha also delivers L-theanine, an amino acid that moderates cortisol release and promotes alpha-wave brain activity, the neurological state associated with calm, focused alertness. Chronically elevated cortisol actively suppresses stem cell function, particularly in the hippocampus, where sustained cortisol exposure causes measurable neuron retraction. The L-theanine effect on cortisol blunting is one of the meaningful distinctions between matcha and regular coffee. You receive sustained alertness without the cortisol elevation that undermines the very stem cell environment you are trying to protect. Prepare matcha in water heated to between 70 and 80 degrees Celsius. Boiling water degrades the catechins. Whisk until fully dissolved and frothy. Consume before noon if caffeine sensitivity disrupts your sleep. A teaspoon of ceremonial matcha carries approximately 70 milligrams of caffeine, roughly 2/3 of a standard espresso shot. On quality, use ceremonial or premium grade only. Culinary grade matcha uses older leaves with significantly lower catechin concentrations. The color difference is visible. Ceremonial grade is a vivid, bright green. Culinary grade appears yellower or olive-toned. Japanese matcha from Uji, Nishio, or Kagoshima Prefecture represents the established quality benchmark. Store your matcha in an opaque, airtight container in the refrigerator or freezer after opening. EGCG oxidizes rapidly when exposed to heat, light, and air. A tin sitting open on a kitchen counter for 2 months has lost a meaningful portion of the active compound you are consuming it for. The third beverage is bone broth, and specifically long-cooked bone broth with taurine added. This is where the taurine data from the opening connects to the practical evening protocol. Taurine, as established, falls by 80% by age 60. It is completely tasteless and dissolves invisibly in warm liquid. Stirring 1 gram of taurine powder into a cup of warm bone broth each evening is undetectable from a sensory standpoint, yet represents a targeted intervention directly connected to what the Singh et al. Science 2023 paper identified as rate-limiting for stem cell mitochondrial function. The bone broth itself, independent of the taurine, is contributing something equally important. Long-cooked bone broth, prepared from marrow and connective tissue bones simmered for 12 to 24 hours, is exceptionally concentrated in glycine, hydroxyproline, and proline, the amino acids released from collagen during extended cooking. Glycine is the rate-limiting substrate for glutathione synthesis in older adults. Glutathione is the primary intracellular antioxidant, a tripeptide assembled from glycine, cysteine, and glutamate. The body produces it continuously, but that capacity declines with age, and after 60, the bottleneck is glycine availability specifically. Research published in JCI Insight demonstrated that supplementing older adults with glycine alongside N-acetylcysteine restored their glutathione levels to measurements comparable to young people. The glutathione deficit of aging is addressable, and glycine is the lever. Stem cells depend on glutathione to manage the oxidative stress generated by their own highly active mitochondria. When glutathione is insufficient, oxidative burden inside stem cells accumulates, DNA damage increases, and stem cells are pushed into premature senescence. The glycine delivered by bone broth replenishes the substrate that allows stem cells to sustain their own antioxidant defense. A well-prepared cup of bone broth delivers roughly 4 to 6 grams of glycine, meaningfully contributing to the estimated daily requirement of approximately 3 grams. The evening timing carries additional rationale. Glycine independently improves sleep quality. Research demonstrated that 3 grams of glycine consumed before bed improved both subjective and objective measures of sleep, specifically the depth of slow-wave sleep. This is the phase during which the glymphatic system clears metabolic waste from the brain and during which the body's primary growth hormone pulse occurs. Growth hormone is one of the central systemic signals for stem cell activation and tissue repair. Consuming bone broth in the evening is therefore stacking 3 distinct effects simultaneously: restoring glutathione substrate, delivering taurine to stem cell compartments throughout the body, and improving the sleep architecture that enables the nighttime repair processes your stem cells are responsible for executing. For preparation, use marrow bones, joint bones, or a combination of both. These carry the highest collagen and glycine content. Simmer in water with a small amount of apple cider vinegar, which helps draw minerals from the bone matrix, for a minimum of 12 hours, and ideally 24. Strain, season lightly, and consume warm. Commercial bone broth is acceptable if it contains more than 10 grams of protein per cup and is genuinely made from bones rather than being flavored stock with collagen powder added afterward. Read the label carefully. Now, what are the beverages doing the opposite of what stem cells require? The most widely consumed are artificially sweetened drinks. The aspartame and sucralose in diet sodas alter gut microbiome composition in ways that increase systemic inflammation and reduce the microbial diversity needed to convert dietary polyphenol into their bioactive metabolic products. The gut microbiome is not a peripheral consideration here. It is central because the short-chain fatty acids produced by gut bacteria are primary regulators of the systemic inflammation that determines stem cell niche quality. Commercial fruit juices deliver concentrated fructose that spikes insulin, generates advanced glycation end products, and produces structural protein glycation that manifests as joint stiffness and tissue rigidity. The glycemic impact of a large glass of commercial orange juice is comparable to a regular soda. Low-quality instant coffee loses most of its chlorogenic acid through processing. Chlorogenic acid, not caffeine, is the compound involved in adenosine receptor activity connected to stem cell mobilization from the bone marrow niche. One final element that amplifies all 3 beverages is the oral and gut microbiome. The nitrate conversion from beet juice depends entirely on tongue bacteria. Antiseptic mouthwash used in the morning eliminates this conversion pathway completely. Use it at night instead. The EGCG from matcha is metabolized by gut bacteria into secondary compounds with their own anti-inflammatory activity. Higher microbiome diversity improves what you actually extract from matcha. Supporting that diversity through daily fermented foods, plain kefir, unsweetened yogurt, kimchi, or sauerkraut makes all 3 beverages perform more effectively. The complete daily protocol: beet juice with ginger in the morning, 250 milliliters, consume 2 to 3 hours before exercise, without prior antiseptic mouthwash. Ceremonial grade matcha prepared at 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, whisked, consumed before noon. Bone broth with 1 gram of taurine stirred in, consumed warm each evening. A daily serving of fermented food to maintain the microbiome diversity that makes each beverage work at full capacity. These 3 beverages address blood flow, inflammation, mitochondrial stability, and oxidative defense simultaneously through daily habit rather than pharmaceutical intervention. The mechanisms are well characterized. The integration is intentional, and the 3 failure points they collectively target represent the most well-documented vulnerabilities in stem cell niche biology after 60. Until next time, thank you.